I'm an emotionless, uncaring, unfeeling robot. Actually, I'm just autistic and have a thing called Alexithymia. What's that? Let's talk. Welcome, my friends. So good to see you. I'm Orion Kelly, that autistic guy, and I'm all about helping you raise your level of understanding, acceptance, and appreciation of the autistic community. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, I would be absolutely delighted if you consider subscribing to this YouTube channel and joining one of the most amazing communities you're ever going to find. Let's explore the topic of alexithymia and autism. Or simply put, why do some neurodivergent people seem to struggle identifying and conveying their own emotions? So you can't actually just lump it down to, well, they're autistic, or they're neurodivergent. There is other forces at play, one of which is alexithymia. So let's break that down. And as always with these discussions, important for me to point out, I'm not a healthcare professional or academic conducting some sort of lecture or providing you with professional advice. It's just a general discussion based on my own lived experiences. So in general basic terms, alexithymia is a difficulty in identifying, processing, and conveying your own emotions. And in addition to your own emotions, it also includes sensations you're feeling, but it also critically includes the emotions of others. Alexithymia is common amongst the autistic community and the broader neurodivergent community for that matter. It does not mean that those with alexithymia do not feel or experience emotions. We are in no way emotionless, uncaring, unfeeling robots. As autistic people, we can in fact feel emotions at a hyper level. It's the idea of, what is this emotion? I don't understand what this is. I don't know what to say or how to convey it to others. So there's a very big difference. Think about it like the breakdown is in the identifying and processing and conveying of the emotion, not in the actual experiencing of the emotion. Okay, so the theory's out of the way. Let's get practical. Let's discuss some examples and some personal experiences of alexithymia. So as a starting point, I think a practical way of looking at it is autistic people feel emotions, but often our brain doesn't seem to be aware of that emotion. Look at it like a brain-body breakdown, a disconnect between what we're feeling and what we're aware of. This is the most important point, and I'll repeat it until it sinks in. Autistic people feel things. We feel emotions, sometimes deeply, but sometimes we're unable to distinguish in a practical way what that feeling is. In my own personal experience, I find really, when I think about it, the only emotions my brain is really consistently able to identify are the emotions of fear, anxiety, and anger. In other words, it's like other emotions kind of feel the same. They conflate, or they just don't seem to connect to an emotion. They just don't feel right in my body. As an autistic guy, I can tell you, I often struggle to explain what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing inside my body. I'm clutching, but I just can't seem to find the words to convey what I'm experiencing inside. An example would be, maybe I'm excited about something, okay, but my body is manifesting that emotion of excitement, which I don't actually have an awareness of at the moment, as almost like a wriggly, jiggly agitation. I could become shaky or hyper in my movements, in my energy. But if someone else asks, what's happening here? What are you experiencing? What are you feeling? Are you okay? I can't seem to come up with an answer or a word for what I'm feeling. My brain basically draws a blank. It's like searching for a word, but the word never comes. So what happens is I could actually be experiencing excitement, but I'm conveying agitation in the way my body's moving and acting, because my brain and my body they're just not connected. They're not connecting what's happening here. Conversely, I could actually be feeling agitated, but because there's this disconnect in the awareness of that, I could argue with someone, black and blue, that I'm absolutely fine, that nothing is wrong. I am not agitated. So due to alexithymia, my brain isn't able to identify and convey my true emotions. Put differently, for me, it's not an instant recognition or a clear given. I experience something in my body and my brain goes, oh, you're happy. I don't know many emotions, I'm sorry. I found though, and this may be helpful for autistic adults, it may be helpful for parents, carers, friends, family, partners of autistic people, that there is a way sometimes where you can actually work through it and try to identify it, in effect, work backwards or manually and work out the emotion through the physical manifestations. You're analyzing what's happening inside and outside of your body. Sometimes this may work. I find though, and this isn't helpful if you were hoping that was the great hack, it isn't, because this is problematic. Because what we're saying is, okay, so neurodivergent people, autistic people, can experience alexithymia, meaning they simply cannot identify or process or convey their own emotions. Yet, if they study their own feelings and manifestations, they are able to then identify it. Well, that's clearly problematic because we're starting at a point where our brain struggles to be aware, let alone to be able to correctly identify and convey the emotions we're feeling. So that's pretty problematic, right? If already we struggle to simply have an awareness or be able to identify and correctly convey emotions, how are we then able to look at how we're acting and feeling and somehow put the pieces together? Because we're still using the same brain to do that. So it's tricky. It's one of those things you just give it a crack, try your best. Doesn't work. It is what it is. Personally, for me, I'm absolutely horrible. I really seem to struggle to even understand feelings and sensations in my body. Like I'm experiencing them, but I can't give you the word. How are you feeling? Ooh, a bit whoopy. Medical care, pain, a great example of this for me specifically. So regarding pain, regarding injuries or illnesses, things that may require medical intervention or treatment or care or some sort of consultation, I almost always struggle to convey my own feelings, to accurately convey my pain levels, my areas of discomfort. Like for me, I seem to underrate my pain. In other words, I'm in more pain than I'm able to convey I'm in. The worst part of that is clearly and can only be detrimental to your overall treatment, the overall outcome. This distortion is clearly a result of having a different brain. We get that. Autistic people, neurodivergent people, our brains are different. As a result of having a different brain, our view and experience of us and the world and the people around us is clearly different. How is it different? Here's an example. Let's say my wife and I are about to go and catch up with some friends. And I mean like good friends, people I'm comfortable with, safe people. We're about to go, for a bit of a catch up. And I start displaying erratic or hyper physical manifestations, behaviors. I think it's fair to say most neurotypical people would see that activity and would probably connect it to an excitement, to getting together, to catching up with friends. If you are a bit hyper or a bit erratic, then that's just like, wow, you're really excited about this experience, right? I guess that's a fair neurotypical connection. However, given I'm not neurotypical, for me, in that situation, it's actually more likely that what I'm experiencing is anxiety. I may not be able to identify that and convey that, but that kind of erratic, hyper-physical manifestation leading up to getting together with friends, even safe people in safe places, is more likely going to be an experience of anxiety, an experience of stress, because I'm leaving my safe place. Sure, I'm going with safe people to see safe people, but still, I'm leaving my safe space for social interaction. That's right, social interaction. That was weird. So I guess what I'm saying is you can't use a neurotypical yardstick of emotions and experiences as a reliable guide to identifying the emotions of a neurodivergent or autistic person. And for those neurotypical people with an autistic person in their life, in a non-judgmental way, let's just be factually real. I'm a dad of an autistic kid, even though I'm autistic. We can fall into the trap, right, of using those yardsticks though, right? We can use our own personal yardsticks as a guide for trying to identify what emotion the autistic person in our life is experiencing. That's not going to be helpful. That's wrong. You're using a neurotypical brain to try and identify something being experienced by an autistic brain. I'm not saying it's malicious, it isn't, but it's just unhelpful. It kind of becomes a game of charades, all right? You may be a neurotypical person with an autistic person or neurodivergent person in your life. You're better than you think because they're your people, right? If you know the autistic person doesn't like leaving their safe place, likes being at home with just their family, and even though they have really great friends or one best friend at school or one best friend in life they absolutely love hanging out with, when they get a bit hyper or erratic or seems agitated or edgy or over the top leading up to maybe seeing that person, then you know, oh, this is an excitement. I might get pretty excited when I'm about to go and hang out with some friends, go and see the friends at the pub and have the drink and watch the footy. It's like the point though. You get what I'm saying? You know that. Oh, okay, you're not excited. You're getting a bit stressed, aren't you, buddy? You're getting a bit anxious. Don't worry. We can leave whenever you want. The bottom line is autistic people's experiences and the related emotions are always going to be different because they're experiencing that through a different brain. A brain that isn't always able to identify emotions, coupled with the wider community and the people in their life that is guided through a neurotypical lens of emotions and experiences. And you know what? The worst part for me is, as an autistic person, I can sometimes be really emotional, as in experience emotions deeply and often. Actually, how's that for a paradox, by the way? Sorry, how do you experience emotions? Deeply and often. Are you good at knowing you're experiencing emotions? Not really. So although it's hard to say, alexithymia, I think it's really beneficial to understand this is a simple breakdown between the mind and the body that is experienced by many neurodivergent people. They're absolutely experiencing emotions. We aren't robots. The issue is what we're feeling physically and internally in our body is unable to connect with our brain in a way that we can properly convey to you, I am feeling this, I am feeling that, let alone identify the feeling to say to you what we're feeling. Super beneficial to understand that. And hopefully it creates a greater level of understanding and appreciation of the autistic person in your life. And as a quick side note, it's also been suggested that alexithymia can also be present in some people who've experienced trauma, especially when that trauma was experienced during early childhood. And overall, I guess what they're suggesting is the trauma and neglect at that stage of a person's life, being very early in their life, can somehow cause changes in the brain, therefore making it difficult to feel and identify emotions later in life. To be clear though, I'm saying that's a suggested link between early childhood trauma and alexithymia. It's not a suggested link between that and autism or neurodivergence. More broadly, we're speaking specifically about alexithymia. As autistic people, and for that matter, as someone who is neurodivergent, it can be a daily battle going through myths and misconceptions. Oh, you're just emotionless. You don't have empathy. The bottom line is learning about things like alexithymia really helps. The idea that we just simply struggle to identify or convey our emotions. It's not like we don't have them or feel them or detect them. We just struggle with the identification and the processing and the conveying. I hope that's helped you understand an autistic person just a little bit better. And I really do appreciate your support. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and join this community if you haven't already. Until my next video, we'll talk soon.